Good afternoon. Today is August 12th, 1997. We're at the Provincial House in Wilmington, Delaware, continuing on with wisdom figures. This afternoon we have with Father Roberto Balducelli, former pastor emeritus of St. Anthony of Padua. Robert, we appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come over and do the wisdom figure. What we'd like you to do is just begin a little bit by telling us your background, your family, how you came to come to the Oblates, and then we'll let you take it from there.
Well, my vocation is quite unusual. One day, my uncle was one of the first Italian Oblates. Came to my village, a small village in the province of Bologna, and he was coming to visit his mother, who lives with my father and mother. And I remember meeting him after coming from church serving Mass. And my uncle asked my mother, "What are you going to do with Robert?" And I remember clearly she said, "I don't know. He says he wants to be a priest, and he just finished the 4th grade. And that is the end of instruction in this village. I don't know what I'm going to do with him." So my uncle looked at me. I remember he was very tall. I was very tiny. I was 10 years old. He says, "Really, you want to become a priest?" "Yeah." "Well," he says, "are you sure?" "Yeah." "Well, would you come to Rome if I take you there, I send you to school?" "Yeah." "You mean you would leave your mother?" "Yeah." Oh, he took me to Rome and sent me to the Christian Brothers for the 5th grade. And we were living in an apartment, some kind of a large apartment, in San Pietro in Vincoli, opposite to the place where there is the statue of Moses, for 3 months. Then we moved to the present residence in Via Dandolo. 1 year later, he sent me to Albano, where I went to high school with run by a group of priests called Giuseppini. Back to Rome again after finished that course, 1 year to the minor seminary in the Vatican City, and then to the novitiate. We did not have a novitiate in Italy, of course. I was in France. And during my novitiate, I had the most unusual experience. Every evening, we were peeling potatoes for the next day. Every evening, including Christmas and Easter. And on a basement, a damp corridor. And one evening, someone showed up. It was a man wearing pants. You know, all of us were wearing cassock. And he had a fur coat. And he looked at 7 of us, who were the only Italian and 6 Frenchmen. He looked at me and he says, "Are you Roberto?" I had no idea who he was. And I couldn't believe someone would know my name. I said, "Yes." "When are you going to be ordained a priest?" "I am 17. "Hurry up, for God's sake. I need somebody at St. Anthony." That's Father Tucker.
No.
I saw him again in 1937, 6 years later. He was in Albano, and he said, "Are you coming now?" "Where?" "To St. Anthony. I told you." "Well, I'm going when they send me." "Well, I understand that, but would you like to come?" "Hello." "Okay. I will make sure that Father General give permission." 2 weeks later, I received a postcard from Father Tuck in Italian. And he was saying, "Sorry, but not without hope." What he meant, I don't know. And a few weeks passed by. I was alone in that place with these young students. The superior of the house was Father Hepler, who was from Austria. I think he was at that time a general counselor. And he's supposed to come, but he was late. He came and he said, came at table in the evening, and he said, "I'm sorry I came late." I said, "Father, no problem. Everything was fine. I had no difficulties whatsoever." "You don't know what you're talking about." "Father, I mean that I had no trouble, the fact that you were late or what it is. Everything went fine, no problem." "Still, you don't know what you're talking about." Keep eating the soup. Then he handed me a little envelope, pink. "Are you going to read it?" "Oh." "You are hereby appointed assistant pastor at the Church of Notre Dame de l'Espérance in Petit-Ivry. They need your presence there as soon as possible, but definitely no later than September the 15th. With my best wishes for your ministry, Father Dufour, General." I said, "What is this? Oh, can't you read?" Petit-Ivry. "You mean I go to Petit-Ivry? That's what it says." "Where is Petit-Ivry?" "It's in Paris." "Paris?" "Father, it says I'm supposed to be there no later than the 15th of September. Today is the 29th. See, I told you I was sorry I'm late." "Oh, what am I going to do?" "I already checked for you. There's a train leaving at 9 o'clock this evening. You better hurry up." "Well, I was told I was going to go home to see my family when you come." He said, "Not this year." At 9 o'clock I was at the train. 7 o'clock in the morning, next day I was in Paris. Father Verlet, the pastor, was there. "So you're late." I said, "I know, but you are late. We were waiting for you." Took me at the parish. And we did a shortcut through the banlieue. The banlieue was a section of outside of the city of Paris that's supposed to be a park. But actually every person who had no place to go would set up a little hut there and live in there like I don't know what. I remember there were two men putting up a fence. One was holding the post, and the other one with the sledgehammer was banging on the wall. And I was passing by there with my little bag. And I hear one of them saying to the other, "Hey, John, You know what I would love to do? What do you want to do? See that skinny priest over there? Yeah, I see him. I would love to put his head on top of this and smash it. Oh. That was it. I remained in Petit Ivry 2 years. Probably a very good years of my life. Wonderful. The pastor, Father Verlet, was a very, very wonderful man. He would complain with me quite often. He would say, Robert, there's something wrong with you. You are too young. Don't worry, it will take care by itself. Well, it was a very poor parish. A very, very extremely poor parish. We had to get the subsidy from the diocese practically every month to survive. And yet, the pastor had a parochial school. One thing, the most important thing that happened while I was there, that affected me all my life. When I got there, the pastor and the other assistant were arguing every day. And I realized the problem they had. They had two camps, one for the boys and one for the girls. And they did not own the property. Someone was generous to let them use the property. And the man who was giving the property for the boys' camp wrote a letter to the pastor saying that he could not do that anymore. So for the pastor to find a new location. So they were trying to find a new location for this camp. Week after week, month after month, searching, writing, I don't know what the heck they were doing. And I was new, I was just listening, like a poor kid. And one day, we were now about April. So, 5-6 months were gone. I put my 2 cents into this conversation. I said, Father, you try everything whatsoever for that camp. Well, it's not exactly a necessity, for a parish to have a camp. If you can, you can, He gave me the dirtiest look. He says, listen, this city is not a city. It is a stinking place. We cannot breathe in this area, understand? It's gas and chemicals all over. It's okay for us, we're going to die anyway. But these kids, they have to have a place at least 1 month a year where they can breathe fresh air, and we are going to do it. One month later, still tension, about that camp. The doorbell rang. Why that place, the doorbell was never ringing. You have no idea what kind of parish. Petit Ivry was the center of French communism. Anyway, bell rang. I was happy to get out and go to open the door. There was a man there, a short fellow. He looked like the advertisement of the Michelin tire, round like this. He says, Monsieur l'Abbé, he says, I have a house, okay, I have a house. And there is a wall around, it's 3-story high, understand, it is in Jolgon. Now, I don't need that house. Now, I think that maybe if you could use it for a camp, you could use it for the camp. I look at him. I couldn't believe it. He said, well, if you don't need it, no, please, come in, sit down. The next day, in his car, little Peugeot, the pastor, the other assistant, and I, we go to Jolgon, 100 kilometers from Paris, to see the house. The man did not know us from Adams. He had no idea we need a camp. And he gave us the camp 2 months before the need. that act of the providence of God on that day shook me to the point that it affected the rest of my life. I came to realize that when you do the work of the gospel, really the work of the gospel, with integrity, and you put all your efforts in it, eventually the providence of God will show up. Maybe at the moment that you least expect, but it will show up, it will never fail you.